Hey everybody, John Ramdeen and Robin Black here with you on our FN studios. Cool fight announced for the Fight Night card going down in London, England in late March. 170-pound affair. Alan Jouban taking on Conor McGregor's teammate Gunnar Nelson, who hasn't seen action in almost a year. Man, oh man, is this ever a cool fight? I know a lot of people will look at Gunnar Nelson as a jiu-jitsu guy. You look at his two losses. Lost to Damian Maia by decision, and he lost to Rick Story by split decision. Now, I know if you look at him, this guy, he is a jiu-jitsu guy, but he lures people into the game by playing the stand-up, weird stand-up karate game. People say, okay, I'm going to get into this, and then he takes you down and plays that game. For Alan Jouban, we know he has this new technology. I'm not going to let this guy get anywhere near my hips. And then on top of that, he has this cool relationship affiliation with Eddie Bravo and the 10th Planet system. And if the fight happens to go down to the ground, what would it look like?
Yeah, all of that is why you start getting very excited about this fight. Gunnar Nelson is very manipulative on the feet. He is very, his misdirection is a little too general. He's manipulating you psychologically and physically. And against Brandon Thatch, I mean, that guy knew what was, he didn't know. He suddenly hit with it. He knew what, oh shit. Like, he just draw you in, he's selling you a safety, and you're very unsafe. Or he's making you feel unsafe, and that bothers you, and it allows him to get to your body. He's going to have changed a lot. He's going to be very different since we've seen him last. He's one of my very favorite martial artists in the world to watch. He's one of the great martial artists in the world when he is on. And Alan Jouban, man, is very, very cool. Has a real good understanding of that relationship between our body parts.
Both sides, too.
Both sides, yeah. They both do. They both change. This is going to be a very interesting looking fight. I was just working on a Tony Ferguson versus Khabib breakdown. So I was going back and looking at some slow-mo Venata versus Tony Ferguson. Some of that unpredictable nature, off time, off rhythm stuff you're going to see in this fight too.
When you think of Jouban, he's going to attack first, and then he's going to retreat, allow Nelson to come towards him for him to attack. Is it just going to be constant angles and mobility and movement? What is the key to victory to defeat Gunnar Nelson? For Jouban, is it just to play this points game? Of course you're trying to knock him out. Of course, if you can submit him. But how likely is that, considering Damian Maia couldn't submit this guy? So the idea is to knock him out. If you can't knock him out, play the point game.
My problem with figuring out how to beat Gunnar Nelson is we're trying to figure out how to beat a 2015 Gunnar Nelson, because that's the footage that we have. So if we're over strategizing for what Gunnar Nelson will do, and you see this, whether it's a coach or somebody who talks about fighting, they'll be like, oh, this guy has a tendency to this. They're humans. Humans change their thing. They evolve completely. They learn new ideas. Martial artists are in constant states of change and flux. Their vocabulary of skills and ideas is growing constantly. So you can't really go in and train to beat Gunnar Nelson. You have to train to perform the best you possibly can on the night. Work on your reaction time. Work on your vision. Work on really being in there and fighting your best fight. That's what they both really should do in this case, because both of them are going to have evolved so much. I may do a breakdown for it because I'm so into this fight. This is the co-main, by the way.
Yes, it is. Jimmy Manoa and Anderson. Super cool.
Yeah, great fight too, but this fight, this is the fight. And I may go in and do a breakdown, but part of that breakdown has to acknowledge that we are looking at the past.
True, but when it comes to martial arts and fighting, you look at, we'll use the Diaz brothers. A lot of people said they don't check leg kicks. Now we know they've evolved, but aren't you going to try and see if they're not going to check leg kicks first? Throw a couple of leg kicks. If they don't, well, we know that they're not going to check leg kicks at this point. If you throw a couple of leg kicks, they check them, they've evolved. Let's go back to our initial strategy of us doing our thing. Doesn't it make sense to not just allow these things that we've seen in the past from fighters? If the openings are there, try to exploit them, but don't rely on them.
I'm the Diaz brothers and my team. What do I know? What do I know for sure? You're going to throw a leg kick. So I got a year, 2 years to develop how to hurt you badly, because I know the check itself and the counter and the draw on counter. I know you're going to leg kick me. People will come on Twitter, key to the Diaz brothers is leg kick. Everybody knows this except for the Diaz brothers. You know?
Of course.
They know. They know you're going to throw it. And if it's you, and you know somebody's going to try something against you, a year from now, 2 years from now, you're hoping in 5 years when you've evolved, some dummy is still reading, that some new fighter that you've got is still reading some tweet by some guy who tweeted it, you know, oh, the key to the Diaz brother, heavy on that front leg, you know, volume of punch and blood, all that nonsense. Well, I know the gift that I get is I know you'll leg kick me. If I know you'll leg kick me, I know what's coming and I have the chance to hurt
But
you.
ego involved is, I know you know that, but I'm faster than you, and you're not going to be able to check the kick faster than I can throw the kick.
And this is why the game of analyzing your opponent and the game of building a game plan is still something that's done, but it's done heavily multi-layered. It's done on layers of concepts,
Your
both
assignment
big and
first.
small.
Your personal assignments
Yeah.
first. Like we've talked to many fighters over the years, I'm not concerned with what they bring to the table. I'm going to execute my strengths, and hopefully those prevail. But as the coaches, it's their responsibility to try to figure out the weaknesses, the path of least resistance for their fighter to achieve that success.
And 2 or 3 years ago, it was the micro details, the micro fights. It's like, if I leg kick him there, he likes to do this and I'll do that. Now, because that is so based on, I know what you're probably training, which allows me to train for that, and trust me, these freaking nerds that are the highest level trainers, go talk to Greg Jackson. Go talk to Mike Brown. Go talk to these guys. They are operating on this level. Matt Hume has been thinking 3 steps ahead of what you might be doing 3 steps from now and building a plan for that for 10 years.
But
so you got to think big picture.
I get it. But when you think about Tony Ferguson and Khabib, do you think Khabib is going to make this a kickboxing match? Of course not.
So I know that.
His assignment, so you know that, and he knows that, so is he going to change things? He's not going to change things. He's still going to try to get through that area, get a hold of your body, and drag you to the ground.
His two broad strokes options will be to surprise you by kickbox, throwing some kicks and trying to damage you in some way that he's prepared that may work, or the other is get even better at closing the distance.
Right.
Tony's is prepare for the fact that he may be striking out here. This isn't a free range, and this guy's coming forward. How do I penalize him for that? Oh, he's going to come forward as I step off and I'll crack him, or I'll maintain the space, or I'll intercept him coming in. I need this fight, and this is part of where this breakdown is going. I need this fight where I need this fight, so I have strategies to keep it there. You have strategies to take that away. Once you do, we'll fight back to where I want it, and rinse and repeat. And the large-scale game of getting through and to and away becomes what you work on. Because the small-scale ones, if I keep thinking that there's always a left hook coming, turns out there's a shot to my body or an uppercut or something else. You trick people into anticipating things. But on the bigger game, the broader game, the macro, that's a little easier to prepare for when everybody's thinking micro.
And that's when we go back to the Alan Jouban and Gunnar Nelson
this
fight.
is going on.
It's the same thing. So Jouban is going to be playing that game. I'm going to go attack. If he doesn't defend, I'm going to keep attacking. And if he attacks me, we'll get out of whatever position he's trying to put me in, and then we'll get back to a spot where I'm doing damage.
And as the fight unfolds, we will make adjustments. We will learn things about you today, and we will make adjustments. And while I'm doing that, you might be planning to want me to learn this, make that adjustment, and then you're going to knock me out. And that's the layer that we're working on right now, and that's why a Gunnar Nelson versus Alan Jouban is so freaking awesome.
Super cool. It is the co-main event, 170 pounds. The division has never looked so good. Alan Jouban taking on Gunnar Nelson.